Okay, so this was one of the most challenging builds we've had. This car came in from Florida. It had significant rust. I can actually, I'll put a link in the description so that you can actually see the amount of rust and corrosion and damage that was on this car. Basically, every body panel was cracked, missing just everything you can imagine. The column was taken out of the car, the gauges were missing, the PSDM was bad, the controller was bad, rats had chewed through all the wiring. We spent, I mean, countless hours on this car, tore it all apart, and we painted. We actually did this for the customer. It's a tribute vehicle, so the customer wanted us to do this in recognition of his late passing wife, which I think is really cool. So we actually have a rear tinted window that goes in the back, and we're going to be putting an image on the back as well. But the customer sent us this image to put on the front. So we had put this up on the nose and then clear coated over it, and looks really good for him. We shot the car in dark emerald forest green metallic. We did 14-inch gold mods wheels with the 205/30/14 Guardian tires. We did full custom dark chocolate brown upholstery with our diamond stitch centers and matching green piping. It's a little washed out in the camera here, but the piping actually matches the car pretty close. It's just a little washed out because my camera's not the greatest. But we added a couple of inches of padding inside the seats just to kind of give them a nice thick bolsters on the side. Cleaned it up by doing the lower profile seat belts. The customer actually has a bad right shoulder and it has a real difficult time using his right hand. So he specifically asked if we could put the ignition on the left side of the car. So we hooked up the ignition on the left side, and he wanted us to use this aftermarket ignition. So that's what we did. We also hooked up a Bluetooth pile driver amp system that he had sent us, and that is hidden up inside the dashboard. So when you get into the car, you flick on the stereo switch here, that activates the amp, and then your volume control is over here on the left side. So it's a lot easier for him to use his left hand. So that's why we mounted it on this side. We rigged up a backup camera and a GPS rear view mirror, which is super cool. So when you turn the car on, you see it turns on immediately. And then the customer, I don't want to record, but the customer asked that we rig up an additional switch so that he could turn on his rear view camera whenever he wants to. So flick the switch, that activates what's behind you, gives you all your GPS. He's gonna have to set all the time and all this type of stuff, but it gives you your speed, your date. It has an impact sensor in case you get into a wreck or something. We also hooked up this, I'm not exactly sure what it's some sort of a Bluetooth interface. He can run this through USB and then tie it into other accessories that he'd like to do at a later date. So we went ahead and rigged that up for him. And then we hooked up our multicolored interior and underbody lights like we always do. So you flick this switch and then you take your remote control here and then point down to the RFI receiver. So you want to go purple, you want to go multicolor, you want to go dance mode, whatever you want to do. You point it down there, that's that. We hooked up our dual USB Bluetooth, I'm sorry, not Bluetooth, but dual USB charge ports here. And this one has the high-speed, brand new 11.6 peak horsepower motor that we just installed. And this one has the T4 controller with cooling fan and brand new 84 volt Samsung lithium battery pack with the JK BMS, app controlled BMS. We just hooked up a rear flip seat kit with our own EV Designs frame mount. So this actually mounts to the frame and then comes off the back of the car so it can support the weight of the vehicle. So you put two adults back here very easily. Rear seat flips over, you can use it like a little truck bed, which is pretty cool. We are, like I said earlier, we're going to be adding a tinted rear window that goes in the back here. And then we added our LED strip lights on the outside of the pillar, so that way the window can still go into the back here. We installed our smoke tinted flush LED tail lights at the bottom. And a customer also wanted us to hook up these LED turn signals. So we went ahead and did that. We hooked up LED headlights like we do on all of our cars. But you can kind of see how it looks here. So LED lights are incredibly bright. And then you can see in the back here, so the flush mount tail lights look really slick. And then we did the LED license plate light as well. So when you turn the turn signals on now, you can see here, you got the light there. So you got full signals, upper pillar, lower fender, and then also in the turn signal itself, front and rear. Same with this side. And everything is dialed in. There was a lot of stuff that had to be replaced on this car, but we nailed it. We got this thing running. We added the lithium gauge down here, so it's real easy to look at and see if you're driving. Kind of ran out of places to mount stuff up on the dash without getting it too crazy up here. So overall, we are super happy with the way this one turned out. If you saw how this car looked when it came in, it looked like it was at the bottom of the ocean. It was in really, really bad shape. We had to replace the rear back panel in between. We had to replace the sides on both sides, as well as the rear fender had to be modified. We had to replace the front nose. The customer wanted that logo up in the front, and obviously there's a charge port there, so we sourced a nose that had not had that hole cut out yet to use, so that it was just nice and clean looking, and relocated the charge port. So overall, this little sucker turned out beautiful, and it runs absolutely nuts. It is super, super, super quick. You hit the gas pedal, it'll literally light up the tires right across this parking lot if you're not paying attention. But runs about 35 to 40 miles per hour, just real effortless, real easy cruising car. It's very quiet, steers really well, and sure does look good. People love the way it looks. So if you have a gem car that you're thinking about sending us to have us redo it or customize it or upgrade it or rebuild it or do a tribute to a family member such as this customer did for his late wife, check us out, elevatedesignsllc.com. If you could think about it or dream it up, whatever you could come up with, we can build it. We don't do other vehicles, just gems. So if you have a gem car, hit us up and we could try to help you out.